I'm Jane Calvert from the College of Arts and Sciences at the University of Kentucky. I'm Associate Professor of History and founding director and chief editor of the John Dickinson Writings Project. I had no intention of working on the Founding Fathers or the Revolutionary period, but as I was writing my dissertation on Quakers, his name kept coming up over and over. And so I thought, who is this guy? And then when I looked at what historians had to say, they didn't know what to make of him. He made perfect sense to me. And the reason was very clear, is that I went to a Quaker college. There was a lot that I really liked, really appreciated about Quakerism, but I never wanted to become a Quaker. And that was exactly Dickinson's position. So Quakers call people like us fellow travelers. We promote a lot of the same causes, have a lot of the same beliefs, but we don't ever want to really join for one reason or another. And Dickinson's reason was that he was not a thoroughgoing pacifist. He said he believed in the lawfulness of defensive war. He advocates resistance to the British, but refuses to sign the Declaration of Independence because he wants the conflict to be resolved peacefully without war. Makes perfect sense. John Dickinson was America's first political celebrity, and he wrote more than any other single person for the American cause. And so his letters from a farmer in Pennsylvania, that was the first resounding call for American unity in the face of British oppression. And because of these, Dickinson became known up and down the colonies, throughout the Atlantic world, in Canada, France, England, Ireland. He became the spokesman for the American cause, even when the sentiment of the country started to turn away from peaceful resistance towards violent war and independence. Dickinson was still powerful enough that the month before Americans declared independence, they turned to him to write America's first Constitution, the Articles of Confederation. My first book looks at the origins of the theory and practice of civil disobedience in Quaker thought and action in the 1660s. To talk about civil disobedience, that presumes a concept of rights. So the book I'm working on now is about the Quaker conception of rights and then Dickinson's actions in trying to bring that conception of rights to the American people at the founding. Of the major founders, he was the only one to free all of his slaves during his lifetime and work for abolition. He was the only one to advocate women's rights. He was the only one to advocate Native American rights.
With new funding from the National Historical Publications and Records Commission, Calvert has raised more than $500,000 for the John Dickinson Writings Project. This project will collect, transcribe, edit, and publish the complete writings of Dickinson in print and digital editions.
Without documentary editors, we wouldn't have any of the Founding Father biographies that people love so much. We wouldn't know anything about the people who shaped our country. One of the hardest things about it is trying to read John Dickinson's handwriting. He used idiosyncratic shorthand, he used legal shorthand, he used Latin abbreviations. He often didn't abbreviate the same word the same way in the same document. Editing itself is related to doing history. So I thought I transcribed my primary sources accurately as a historian until I became a documentary editor, and then I saw all the mistakes that I'd made. You have to learn how to see in a much more detailed way than you normally do. The way I train students is very much influenced by my scholarship and my work as an historian and as a documentary editor. In the first place, I bring my primary source documents into the classroom. I take stuff directly from the archives and bring these things in. This is stuff that is obscure sometimes and unique and really fascinating. So that really, I think, gets students more excited. They feel like they're really doing history more. Also, I try to encourage students to take on the skills of documentary editing, whether at the undergraduate level and just editing their own work, or as graduate students in learning how to be better historians.